Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you might be, and welcome to lunch with Dean Sarah Phillips. It's fantastic to have you all here. We're really busy here in the admissions office, and in our homes. I happen to be the only one here in Knight Hall. I'm counselor for all the students from Hawaii, Washington County, Yamhill County, and Columbia County here in Oregon. And the team has been working really, really hard to try and support you and your families to keep you abreast of what's happening. And we want you to know that we are here for you. That is the bottom line. We're here to support you and your students and your family through all of this as we all go through this together. Always know that we're here. We'll answer you as quickly as possible. We'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Please don't hesitate to call your counselor, Zoom meeting with them, email them, or text. We're here. So welcome to Lunch with Dean Phillips, and I'll turn it over to the Dean. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. I am looking forward to having the chance to talk with you and answer your questions. My name is Sarah Phillips, and I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. So I'm the Dean of the college where your students would be starting out next fall. And this is the office that I have at home. So not my campus office. I know that this is and there's my cat. I know that this is such a strange time for everyone, and I know that the uncertainty is really, really difficult for everyone. I think actually the uncertainty is probably harder than just knowing for certain that something's good or bad. Just not knowing is really, really difficult on people. So I wanted to try to offer you some reassurance. This is my 25th year at Pacific University. Pacific University is going to be fine. We are going to be here and we're going to be fine. We're going to get through this. It's different right now, as you all know, different and difficult. But I can tell you some things that while things have been difficult, things have also been pretty amazing. So yesterday, we had 889 classes go online in one day that had never been online before. All of those classes had practice sessions with their faculty, students working with them. So we're having to make some quick changes, but we're doing a lot of things that are really pretty great too. So I can tell you a couple things the students have been working on campus just in response to the coronavirus. We have a theater department. Maybe some of your students are interested in theater. Theater requires costuming. We can't put on a play right now, but the costume students are all sewing face masks for local healthcare workers. We have chem labs that can't run a chemistry experiment necessarily right now, but they can make hand sanitizer. So they are doing that. We have all over campus 3D printers, and students from physics and art and design courses are 3D printing headbands for the masks that healthcare workers have to wear. So I know that these sorts of crises bring out the worst in people, but it also really brings out the best. And it's wonderful to see some of those things on campus. I am going to guess that some of you have questions about, have we changed things this fall? What about the fact that schools are out and there's no SAT tests and those sorts of things? So one thing I can say about that is that, one of the advantages of being a small school is that we know you, right? We know your students, and the counselors know each of your students individually. So when you have questions about things like that, well, what about my SAT test that was canceled or that sort of thing? Just give your admissions counselor a call. We will work with you. We know they're canceled. We won't let something bad happen to you. We will work with that. I know I have also gotten a lot of questions from families that are about, well, what happens if circumstances have changed since we turned in our financial aid paperwork, now somebody has lost a job. We need you to contact financial aid and let them know that. And they will review those financial aid packages. They'll review your FAFSA in light of that new information. Our goal is to be helpful and to be supportive, help you and your student get through this and start up college successfully. So, so please do just be in touch with those sorts of things. I don't know, Gina, I can't see any typed questions, so I don't know if there are any being typed in there. Can you tell me that?
So far, we don't have any questions. So if you do have questions, please make sure to add them in the group chat here. This session was really to answer any concerns that you guys have. So please don't be shy and feel free to drop your question. I do know one of the questions that we've been getting a lot was the enrollment deposit date. That was one thing that we got. That was a question. Maybe you can answer that, or if not, I'm more than happy to answer as well.
Sure. So, so we have extended our deposit deadline from May 1st to June 1st. You are welcome to deposit before that, of course, that's great. And again, we know that people's lives are disrupted, right? So if you say, hey, I can't meet this deadline, I need this time, I need another week, contact your admissions counselor. They will work with you on that, right? Our goal is to, work with each of our students. We are a personal place, and what we care about is our students, and we care about our students being happy and successful. So we will prioritize that over our rules, right? Institutional deadlines, those sorts of things. So please just stay in touch and keep talking with us and let us know how things are going. I do see some questions that are up here now. One is, do we have any programs or majors related to film? And yes, we do. We have both film. We have film and film production. So students can learn both the production side, where you actually go out and do the filming and create a film. And we have film studies where they can learn history, do film critique, those sorts of things. So for us, if you're looking for that online, if you search our website, you'll find it under film and video. You'll also find it under media arts. So you can have a look there. We have a question. How is this impacting Voyages trips? So that's a good question. We have not yet made any decisions about Voyages trips in terms of canceling them. Right now, we're just assuming they're gonna run. As probably a lot of you know, I don't know which states you are from, but in Oregon, most of the epidemiological predictions are that we are in our bad month now. That April is going to be the worst month, and then things will start to settle down and quiet down a little bit after April. So right now, it is our assumption that those sorts of Voyages trips will still go. If we get to a point in the summer where we think they won't, we'll be in touch with you, and we will come up with alternative ways for students to have that sort of first bonding experience. If you don't know what Voyages are trips that we schedule for incoming first-year students. They take the trips with other students and usually with a faculty member. Also, it's not for credit, it's for fun. And it means that then they come to school already knowing a group of students and at least one faculty member. So their trips that are some are, rock climbing, some are rafting, some are urban experiences. So if you haven't looked at those, they are worth a look. It's the students really enjoy them and have a great time. And it is just a way of sort of helping students already have a little set of friends when they start school in the fall. So that's what Voyages are. There's a question about, is school set to start at its original date in the fall? Yes, it is. We've not made any changes to that. Again, right now, we're following what are the what our local epidemiologists are reporting, which is that, you know, things should settle out quite a bit by June. So if there's any change in that, of course, you'll be the first to know. Well, second after me, but you will know right away. So right now we are set on our normal plans. So Gina?
Yeah, I actually have a number of questions that are coming in privately, so I'll just read them out loud.
Okay.
If now that the registration deadline has been extended, will this also affect the housing deadline?
Good question. I don't have an answer to that. Do you, Gina?
I do have an answer
Okay,
for
good.
that. So May 1st is the original deadline, and May 1st is when the housing applications will be sent out. But essentially at Pacific, it's not really a first come, first serve basis in terms of what housing your student will be placed in. It's more, we find more important that they are comfortable with who they live with rather than where they live with. So regardless of when they turn in their housing application, it's not going to put them in a better, quote unquote, better housing versus like the lesser housing, I guess. The housing is all actually really great and spacious, and there's windows. I don't know if you guys realize that's a huge commodity in college dorm rooms, but it will not put them on the bottom of the list. We just want to make sure that we're able to have them find a roommate that they feel comfortable with. So the housing applications, the first set of housing applications will be sent out May 1st because we do have a number of students who have made their decisions already. But again, it's not going to affect whether or not you get the quote unquote better housing. So hopefully that kind of answers that question there.
And students will get housing. You don't have to be worried about that part. So
yeah, and one of the kind of reoccurring questions that I get is if there is a shelter in place still throughout the fall. Obviously, Oregon is on a different timeline than some of the other different states. Would we be able? What will happen for families who are from out of state and who are still?
So, you know, like you all, we're learning as we go and figuring it out as we go. So if we are still under a shelter in place order, we will have to make decisions about whether or not students can come into the residence halls or not. What we've done this spring, I can tell you, is we are under a shelter in place order in Oregon. And schools, in particular, universities, have been asked by the governor to inventory the rooms that they have in case hospitals need extra rooms and extra space. So we participate in that along with every other university in the state. And we have encouraged our students to go home. We do have 120 students who are staying on campus because we do have some students for whom Pacific is their home. They don't have another home to go to, or their home is with, for example, an elderly grandparent, and it doesn't feel safe to the student to go home, not for them, but to protect their grandparents. We don't want to make students do that kind of thing, so they stay on campus. We feed them, and they can stay on campus. So in the fall, if we are still under that sort of an order, which I do not think we will be, and sincerely hope we will not be, because I'm really getting sick of this desk chair already. I think, you know, we will have to make some decisions around that about whether or not students can in fact move into the residence halls, and we would just have to keep you notified, you know, as soon as we know anything. And again, that's back to, I know that sort of uncertainty is really difficult, so hang in there with it. I know nobody likes that feeling, and I get that.
Thank you, Sarah. And then we have another question about sports. So fall sports and how this is going to affect football camps. We have a number of families who have yet to commit because they still want to visit campus, and just kind of how will the sports and kind of this large group events be affected?
Yeah. So again, I wish I had a super satisfying answer. Like I could promise you that's all going to go ahead, no problem. I can't promise you that. It is my plan for all those things to go ahead and go forward as planned and as organized. For some of the things like the sports, You know, not all of it is under our control. We're in the Northwest Conference, and they make, you know, NCAA makes some decisions for Division III schools in terms of what can and cannot go forward. They made decisions this spring. They have not made decisions about the fall. So at this point, we are scheduled to go ahead as we normally would.
All right. And I have a question here, and I think I might be better in answering this. We have families who have not applied yet and just kind of want to know the application deadlines and how long it's going to take. So we are rolling admissions, so we are still accepting applications. So if you are interested, please submit your application. If there is a fee waiver, so reach out to me if you want the fee waiver, or your admissions counselor if you haven't been in contact with them. We'll make sure that you do get that fee waiver. It's on Common App. And the tricky part is with the school closures, it might be a little bit more difficult to get school transcripts sent out. But from our end, we have been working with a lot of our high school counselors, and everyone has been on their emails and able to email us the transcript. So we need a common application, a transcript, as well as test scores if you have them. A screenshot of your test scores would be perfect. That way you don't have to pay for those test scores to be sent. If you have not taken the SAT or the ACT, just go ahead and let your admissions counselor know that you hadn't had the opportunity to do that, and then we'll work with you on a case by case. However, for those of you who are already admitted and do want to deposit, we still have our sweepstakes happening right now. The sweepstakes are pretty nice. We have a few AirPods to give out, free housing for a semester, free dining for a semester as well. It's a $400 deposit, and $100 you'll get back once you graduate, and the $300 will go towards your tuition. If for some reason, because of all of this whole situation, the $400 is difficult to make at a certain time, talk to your admissions counselors. We will work with you if you need to do it in payments, or just kind of find some other ways in order to get you at Pacific. We're going to do our best to work with you. So hopefully that answers the question here. And I'm trying to scroll through these. A lot of these questions tend to be very similar. What do you think will be the drop dead deadline to decide if fall 2020 will be online classes? And I know the question might be a little repetitive, but Sarah, if you can answer, that'd be great.
I wish I knew what that drop dead deadline. I guess we should not probably use that phrase in this particular circumstance. What would be our limit, our last possible day of deciding? You know, I don't know. I really don't. So it wouldn't be just me deciding. It would be the president deciding, because we have multiple colleges and multiple programs. So it would require some coordination. We don't have that date. I just don't have the absolute date. Certainly, if the governor comes out with saying, hey, here's the deal, we're extending the shelter in place, you know, for another 10 months, well, then that will force us into a decision, right? But at this moment, we're not there. And again, I know all that uncertainty is hard. I feel it myself, so I know that. We will absolutely get through it. We are going to get through it. There's going to be an end to this. There's going to be another side. So unfortunately, I fear that right now we're kind of in the worst of it. And so we're going to have to hang tight for a little bit.
Thank you. Another question is, one that popped up, is the $400 deposit refundable or partially refundable in the event of unforeseen changes in the fall? If there are changes in the fall, we will work with you. Reach out to your admissions counselor. Again, like Sarah said, us being a small school, we know you as a family, and so we're more than happy to work with you on a individual basis. So reach out to your admissions counselor. One of the questions is that we have a lot of families from out of state, and so they're kind of asking, is it okay to send my student so far away? And why should we choose Pacific? In between California and Washington, where things are a little bit more serious. So maybe if you can kind of answer that question.
Sure. So I will tell you, again, so as I mentioned when we started, I've been in Pacific a really long time, 25 years. So I came as a professor, right? It was my first full-time professor job, was to come to Pacific. And um, I have been at fancier places. I came to Pacific from Yale Medical School. So I've been in fancier places, but I've never been in a place where the people are kinder and more supportive of each other. And that's absolutely true. And I've never had any doubt about that the whole time that I have been at Pacific. I think that I get it. I'm a parent of an 18-year-old, and I get being nervous about that kind of thing, of sending somebody away from home. I think Pacific is as close to a home as you can find that isn't your home. I think that, well, I know it is really pretty impossible to fall through the cracks at Pacific. That's a good news, bad news thing. Some students like to sort of hide, but it's pretty impossible to hide at Pacific. We have, if it's, in terms of academics, I have myself as a professor gone into the residence halls and gotten a student out of their room when they weren't coming to class. We have a pretty tight system for tracking students, so that if a professor notices, hey, a student hasn't come to class 2 days in a row, there's a system in which they report that, and somebody, a human being, actually follows up, walks to their residence hall, knocks on the door and says, why didn't you go to class? So I think in terms of a place where people take care of students, I think Pacific is pretty fantastic. And I think those are the sorts of students that we enroll too. So here's a story I will tell you from this last week. I have gotten so many emails from students who are now juniors or seniors saying, hey, I've been at Pacific, 3 years or 4 years, and I know it's really hard for my professors to suddenly go online in 1 week. What can I do to help? Just tell me, I'll do something. I can help film things, I can help. I mean, those are the students that come to Pacific. And so I think that I get it. There's probably no way to send your kid away and not feel some anxiety about it. But I truly believe that Pacific is a pretty fantastic home-like environment for your students. And the people are honestly and earnestly caring and kind and looking out for each other. I will also say that since I am a parent of an 18-year-old and I'm imagining myself in 2 months, I might be ready for my kid to get out of the house by then. I'm just saying. So
thank you, Sarah. This question might be a little bit tougher, and I think we kind of mentioned that we don't have any concrete answers in regards to the COVID, but it's come up a few times. So parents are saying if there were shelter in place into the fall semester and classes were having to be online, or maybe the student wanted to defer for a second and start in the second semester instead, is there going to be a tuition change just because they're not getting the full on-campus experience, and how we're going to deal with students who will be doing online classes or defer, and how would that happen?
So those are great questions, and of course the questions that you have, and I get that. Again, not going to have super satisfying answers for you for that yet. So the university has 2 different task forces that are related to the university's response to the coronavirus. I am on both of those, one of which is me, the vice president's the president, and we meet pretty much daily. And we are just starting to move our attention to the what if scenarios. So up until this time, we've been dealing with, okay, immediate, we have students on campus, we have faculty on campus, we have to move them. So we've really been focused on the day-to-day of how do we manage the circumstance right in front of us. If for some reason we cannot go back to our face-to-face teaching in the fall, I imagine, and now I'm just imagining, that we will have different options for families and for students. If there's a way to delay briefly and just start up a little bit later, that's one possibility. If could have options for students to defer their enrollment until a later term. In terms of tuition, certainly we will have that conversation. Obviously, people aren't going to be paying room and board, that kind of thing. So there would be adjustments to bills and that sort of thing. I just don't know exactly what those things are. So I don't want to promise you something that I truly can't promise yet.
Okay, thank you. A couple questions that we had were from high school credits. Now that classes are online, some classes are doing credit, no credit, or I'm sorry, pass, no pass, and IB classes and AP testing and all of that. So I'm more than happy to answer that, or Sarah, you can.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So for our students, if you have been admitted, you are admitted. Basically, we don't really have a minimum number of classes that you need to take so long as you have your high school diploma. We did admit you on the basis that you are going to graduate from high school. So we are not going to revoke admission if because your high school has decided to go online and all of a sudden your GPA has changed for one reason or another. You've been admitted, you're part of the Boxer family, you're already here. So don't worry about that. AP testing, I know right now has put out like a take-home test or doing AP classes online. So you still have an option to do those, and I would reach out to your teacher about the AP testing. About the IB testing, I just got a long email from my colleagues here. So I'm actually going to read through on the IB part. I do apologize, I didn't have the answer to that, but I did want to kind of relieve that for those of your students who are doing the pass, no pass, or the credit, no credit. If they've been admitted and they get their high school diploma, we will not be revoking their admission. So hopefully that helps here. And I don't have too many other questions that's been asked. If there are questions that we weren't able to answer, that is purely because my eyes are getting older, so I'm having a hard time reading, or that we will answer to you because it's a little bit more specific to a specific person. So there's a housing question about freshmen having to live on campus. And essentially, if immediate family lives within a 20-mile radius of campus, students can waive their housing application. And again, it has to be immediate family. So mom, dad, brother or sister, aunt, uncle, or grandparents will not be counted as immediate family. So if you are living in like the Hillsborough, Beaverton area and you are within the 20-mile radius, you can apply for the housing waiver there. Talent scholarships, and that's a question that we've gotten a lot of answers from. We are expecting them any day now, and thank you again so much for your patience. Generally, those have been awarded towards the end of March, but because of all of this happening, our faculty has been working extremely hard, but we got an update and that they should be coming in a couple days. So please, fingers crossed, we'll be reaching out to you, either the admissions office or the department that is awarding the scholarships will be reaching out to your students. So we'll be going ahead and making sure that those will be in contact soon. And this is something that we kind of mentioned before, but Sarah, if you can go over it one more time. Sorry, my chat is moving up. If there was a loss of job because of this, and how do we do with financial aid?
So I can tell from all of these questions that families are anxious, and I understand that. So I want to say something general, and then I'll answer that specifically. The general thing I want to say is, we're on your side, and we will work with you. Nobody at Pacific University is going to use this crisis against you. We want to be on the side of helping, right? We want to be on the side of helping do what you need. So all the questions about what about this test, or what about my, class going pass, no pass, just talk to us. We want you to do well. We want you to come to Pacific and be happy and be part of our community. So don't freak out about that stuff. Just talk with us, right? We're on the side of the let's just do it. Let's get through it together. We'll do what we need to do. So the specific question was, what happens if your financial circumstances have changed, somebody's lost a job in the family, either the student or the parents, and what you need to do is contact our financial aid office. I know that you have already filed FAFSAs and all that sort of thing. And so what you need to do is contact financial aid and say, hey, I've had this change of circumstance. This person in my family has lost their job. Our financial aid office will reevaluate that. They are allowed to do that based on a change of circumstances. So they will probably, my guess is, wait a little while, a few more weeks, right, before they do that, because there's going to be a lot of folks in that circumstance, and so they'll do them all together. But all you have to do is contact financial aid and say, I've had this change of circumstance, and they'll walk you through anything that they need from you. They fully expect that. They know that. We've had many conversations about that. So they know that that is going to be the case for many families. So just contact them and let them help you.
Thank you. And I think we're winding down on some of the questions here. Real quickly, what is the report date for athletes? That's going to be dependent on if they are a fall or a spring sport. So I would have your student reach out to the coaches and they'll be able to answer them. I know football is here the earliest, and then I know soccer is here a little bit early after that, as well as volleyball. So reach out to your coaches for summer start dates for athletes. But we did have a question about the student to faculty ratio and what that relationship is like. Sarah, could you answer that?
So I believe that our official student to faculty ratio is 11 to 1. It will vary for your students in terms of, particular classes there, and it doesn't mean that every class has 11 students in it and one professor. That's our overall ratio. It is very normal for students in their senior years and in their upper division classes to have classes that have 5, 6, 7, 8 students in them. It is normal for students to have larger classes early on. If it's a large survey course, an introduction to psychology could have 50 students in it. That's about, we start to max out around there. We just don't have we don't have rooms on campus that will accommodate courses that are much bigger than that. So your student will be in different size classes through the day, but our official student to faculty ratio is 11 to 1.
Thank you. And I think this is going to be kind of the last question. It's kind of slowed down. The other questions are a little bit more one-to-one. So what steps have been taken to ensure that the campus is safe if students are back in fall? And
yeah,
that's kind of.
So that's a good question. So one thing that if you don't know about Pacific University, you would learn quickly is that we have a lot of healthcare professions on campus. We teach a lot of young health professionals. So we actually were, at Pacific, we were probably further ahead than a lot of schools in terms of knowing what do we need to do and how do we plan for that. We have a public health program on campus, an undergraduate program in it with epidemiologists teaching in it. So we were a little bit ahead in that regard. So we have done a variety of things. We follow all of the governor's orders and the Higher Education Commission orders on how to respond to what the governor has said. So we have closed certain areas of campus where it's impossible to stop people from gathering in groups. Closed, unfortunately, our playgrounds for the little kids in the early learning community that our College of Education has. We have increased the cleaning that we do on campus. We have sanitizing that happens in each place, and every place will be sanitized before we open up again in the fall. So we're working our way through and then locking up the rooms so they stay clean. So we have probably ahead of a lot of areas in terms of what you hear a lot about on the news about personal protective equipment. Again, because we have a lot of health professions, we do have those sorts of things on campus. And so we've been able to equip offices that need it, all have that. That's in terms of gloves and masks and those sorts of things. We have rotated staff so that we have staff who are on campus, staff who are off campus, staff who are backup to staff in case somebody gets sick. We have a tracking system for any students, faculty, and staff who are ill so that we can check on them, see how ill they are, see if they need help. We have plans in place for if a student gets sick, how do they get their food, how do they get everything that they need. We have a system set up so that they would hear from people even if a student is in quarantine. We will give them a computer if they don't have one. We've made a list of all students and what their technology is that they have. So we know if somebody is in quarantine and needs a computer, we will give them a laptop computer. They will have scheduled meetings with both their teachers, because they can be in class, and also with our counseling center every day to check on them to make sure they're doing all right. So we have all of that stuff in place. So we are trying to be as proactive as we can. Saying all that to you, we don't have any students in that circumstance yet, I can tell you that. But we're trying to be ready.
All right. And this is going to be our last question before we kind of sign off and I end the session here. Can you talk, and I guess we can kind of roll it in. Can you discuss the extracurricular activities and clubs on campus and kind of what makes it specific? And then we'll kind of end it there. Thanks, Sarah.
So yeah, I think one of the really things that is really great about Pacific, and one of the things we really try to encourage students to do, is to try out new things and not just go to their classes. I want them to go to their classes, don't get me wrong, they should go to their classes. But I would also like them to try out some other things. And some of the easy way to do that is by joining a club. We have dozens and dozens of clubs because we have a system where if there's a group of students that is interested in something, they can form an official club. It gets them a little bit of funding from the college to do activities during the year. So we have a lot of different clubs. We have an outdoor pursuits program that takes students outside, whether that's on the weekend or evening. They go rock climbing, all sorts of things, including glow in the dark golfing inside, those sorts of things. We also have a Center for Civic Engagement that helps connect students with the community and different needs in the community. We have an awful lot of students who are very committed to doing something good in the world and giving something back to their community. And so we have an extraordinary number of hours every year that students, faculty, and staff volunteer with community organizations, from things like, Habitat for Humanity, building houses for low-income folks, to we have students who work to help translate for folks who are non-English speaking with their doctors, all kinds of things that we have students do, and we want students to try out those things. We also have just informal things that happen, speakers that are on campus. Every night on campus there should be multiple things that a student can do. So whether that's a movie, a speaker, a play, we have a very large and active music program. So there will be performances all the time. So students, we want them to try those things out. And in fact, for incoming students who are in a first-year seminar, their classes will do some of those things together, go to plays, that kind of thing, as a way of getting you in the habit of that. Because if you haven't been in a habit of it, it takes a little bit to sort of get in the habit of going to a play or that sort of thing. So the students will go together during that first semester to some of those sorts of things. So Did I miss things, Gina?
No, I think you covered a lot of things there. Thank you again, Sarah. Thank you so much for this time. Right now, we have a few questions in there that I will go ahead and answer for you on the side, as they are a little bit pertaining to like a one-on-one basis. But if there are questions, please email me. You can just hit reply on that registration email I sent out. Again, I am one of the admissions counselors here. If I'm unable to answer it, I'll make sure that we get you in contact with someone who can. Or I'll forward your question to your admissions counselor, and they'll be more than happy to work with you. We're here to help you throughout this process. This is a whole new normal, I guess is the word for it, for everybody. So we're going to be doing our best to ensure that you are happy with your decision. So thank you again. We are going to be sending out this recording. I believe it'll be in a link format, just because the file might be a little bit too large for us to email it to you. But we'll make sure that we email this out to you in one way or another, and we'll have some of the questions that we weren't able to answer answered in that email as well. Again, the admissions team is here for you guys. Thank you all so much. Nobody ate. I don't think anybody was eating, so we're.
No, it wasn't much of a lunch, you all. So.
We'll go off onto our lunch, but the admissions here is full steam ahead here, guys. And thank you again so much for joining us. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you again, Sarah, for your time. We appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Take good care, everyone. Stay healthy.